Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to take what often looks like really dense, maybe complex source material and basically pull out the core insights for you. Give you that shortcut to, really understanding what's going on.
Yeah, getting straight to the heart of it.
Exactly. And for those of you tracking the big shifts happening in digital ecosystems, especially around community-driven finance, well, today's material is pretty essential, I think.
Absolutely critical if you're following this space.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What we're diving into today is documentation. It describes a really foundational technical procedure for ONPASSIVE. It's their new founder verification process.
Right. And on the surface, you hear verification, you think, okay, standard stuff. KYC, know your customer, identity check. Pretty normal for online platforms, especially involving finance.
Totally normal. But
yeah.
The material we've got, the language it uses, it's miles away from your typical corporate bulletin or security update.
Oh, completely. It's really striking.
Our sources frame this verification using words like destiny, faith, spiritual confirmation, even global transformation. It's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah. They're not just saying check your ID. They're presenting it as this divinely timed event. A crucial step needed to unlock what they call global abundance.
So our mission today is really to analyze that language. It's highly symbolic stuff. We need to understand the strategic vision it's trying to convey and, decode what this simple step, as they call it, actually signifies for the founders, the community, and importantly, the platform's upcoming financial launch.
And it really is a fascinating case study in strategic communication. You're looking at what seems like a masterful piece of narrative construction. They've built it around a business operation that is, at its core, pretty critical.
Critical, yeah, but usually dry, right?
Exactly. But they're attaching maximum symbolic weight to it, calling it spiritual, almost sacred. And they're doing this for what is, practically speaking, minimum effort from the user, a basic identity check.
So it's about understanding not just what verification is technically.
Right. But what it means, what it's supposed to mean to the founders, especially those who've been waiting, years for this moment. It feels like a rhetorical shift.
How so?
Well, shifting from managing expectations, maybe dealing with delays, to guaranteeing the delivery of the promise. And they're embedding that guarantee deep within this spiritual and almost historical context.
That framing, that rhetorical strategy, that's really the hook here, isn't it?
Yeah.
It begs the question, why does a standard user verification need all this? Why treat it like a, historical or divine event?
That's the core question we need to tackle.
Okay, let's jump right into that then. Section 1, the narrative of transition. Let's focus on how they establish this elevated importance for what seems like a simple process.
So the source material right from the start positions this verification as way more than just like an administrative task or a hoop to jump through.
Yeah, it's not just click here to continue.
No, it's defined as a really significant pivot point, a turning point in the company's whole story. It actually states that, every great movement in history kicks off with a moment of transition, a specific point where the past and the future kind of collide or meet.
And they give that meeting place a name, don't they?
Huh?
I thought this was quite striking. The bridge of preparation.
Yeah, that's the phrase. And it's loaded.
What does it imply, that bridge of preparation?
Well, it suggests that everything that came before, all the anticipation, the years of waiting, the community building, the software development delays, everything, the entire history of ONPASSIVE up to this point was just the preparation phase.
Ah, okay. So the verification isn't the start of the bridge, it's the act of stepping onto the bridge.
Exactly. It signifies the end of that old preparatory phase. It explicitly marks, and this is their quote, the beginning of the next glorious phase for the whole ecosystem and what they call their global family of founders.
The psychological effect of framing it like that, it must be pretty powerful for the community.
Oh, absolutely. You can't really overstate it. By calling all the past year's preparation, they effectively recontextualize everything. Any delays, any challenges people might have felt, they become necessary steps, part of a larger, destined plan.
So it makes the waiting feel purposeful in hindsight.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this transition isn't just about time passing. They frame it as something sacred. They actually call the process itself a divine confirmation.
Okay, I have to pause on that phrase again. Divine confirmation. I mean, let's be real. We're likely talking about uploading a document, maybe clicking a link in an email, something standard for online identity checks.
Yeah.
How do they justify attaching such, frankly, spiritual stakes to what's essentially a business security procedure?
It's entirely strategic, you see. The emotional message woven into that phrase is crystal clear. It's saying to the founder, you belong here. You are genuinely part of this vision. You are confirmed, ready for your blessing.
So it provides validation.
Deep validation, especially for a community that's been based on belief and, long-term commitment. It confirms their faith wasn't just a business gamble, but something preordained, aligned with this bigger purpose. The monumental significance is deliberately attached to the simple action.
Why? To maximize something.
To maximize founder compliance, absolutely. But also excitement, buy-in, and that feeling of arrival, it makes the action feel less like a chore and more like claiming a reward.
So it becomes the formal digital recognition.
Right.
Proof that their faith, their loyalty over the years, it's reached the point of payoff.
Exactly. And according to the documentation, the brilliance of this framing, this is attributed to CEO Ash Mufareh's design philosophy, lies in pairing this immense weight with extreme simplicity.
Right, that's the simplicity thesis they talk about.
Right.
This step, carrying all this historical sacred significance, is simultaneously described as a masterpiece of simplicity and wisdom.
And that paradox, the high stakes, combined with the low effort that's not accidental, it's strategically vital.
Outside.
The source material claims this simplicity is completely intentional, designed specifically to remove any confusion, any anxiety. The stated goal is to make the process absolutely effortless for every single founder, everywhere in the world.
Okay, so if the action itself is effortless, then all the user's focus, all their emotional energy gets shifted onto the meaning of the action, not the difficulty of doing it.
You've nailed it. It's a very deliberate juxtaposition. You have this world-changing, destiny-confirming event, and it's accessible via basically a single, simple click or step.
That's quite a narrative construction.
It is. And they tie this simplicity directly back to Mufareh's stated mission, which is apparently to make technology accessible, trustworthy, and friendly to every person, regardless of their background or technical ability.
So the simplicity isn't just about ease of use, it's about equity.
That's the argument being made. The complexity of the underlying AI, the financial infrastructure, all of that is meant to be hidden, intentionally obscured beneath an interface so straightforward that nobody can say, oh, I couldn't figure it out. Technical inability is removed as an excuse for not moving forward into this next glorious phase.
So simplicity here is elevated. It's not just user-friendly, it's framed as a high-level feature, almost a moral achievement, a testament to thoughtful, equitable design, a guarantee of universal access.
Yes, it elevates UX design almost to the level of divine wisdom, as they put it. It's presented as proof that the system is truly for everyone.
That's a key distinction. Simplicity isn't a lack of power, it's clarity replacing complexity. And that clarity ensures that the sheer global scale of their vision isn't tripped up by technical hurdles or intimidating steps.
Makes sense. And that focus on ease and accessibility alongside the high stakes really sets the stage for the next layer, the psychological framing and, crucially, the protective functions this verification is supposed to serve.
Right, protection. Let's get into that.
Okay, so moving from that elevated narrative, that destiny talk, we need to look at the more practical function, specifically the psychological and protective aspects of this verification process.
And the source documentation is actually quite open about the internal psychology of the community, isn't it?
Surprisingly candid, yeah. It explicitly acknowledges that in any massive transition like this, there's bound to be a natural whisper of doubt among the participants. People might feel uncertain.
And acknowledging that doubt, that's a smart rhetorical move, right? It sort of validates the founder's own experiences, maybe past anxieties from the long wait.
Exactly. It shows empathy. But then it immediately pivots. It positions the verification step as the ultimate moment where, quote, faith speaks louder than fear.
So the action itself becomes the antidote to doubt.
Precisely. This single, simple action isn't presented as just a tedious requirement. It's framed as the reward itself, in a way. It's the golden key unlocking the next level of opportunity.
So they're actively trying to manage the internal mindset of the founders during this critical phase.
Very actively. Founders are explicitly encouraged to internalize certain affirmations, like, I trust the journey. And they're told to view the verification act itself as their personal signature of trust.
Wow, a signature of trust. That transforms a technical security measure, which, let's be honest, users often find annoying, into something else entirely.
It becomes a profound, voluntary act, a demonstration of communal loyalty and continued belief. It subtly reinforces the idea that access to the upcoming benefits is something earned, primarily through sustained loyalty and now this final act of trust.
Okay, but let's bring it back down to earth for a second. While the language is all about trust and faith, the function of verification is usually rooted in security, right? Database integrity, preventing fraud.
Absolutely. And the source material actually addresses this tension head on. There's a specific part that discusses exclusion versus protection.
How do they frame that?
They state very clearly that verification is not about exclusion, it's about protection.
Protection from what or for whom?
Protection, specifically from imposters. That's the word used. The stated core goal is about securing the blessings meant for the faithful. There's that link again. And shielding the legitimate community from anyone who hasn't earned the right to be there, especially with financial rewards supposedly on the horizon.
So it's an exercise in boundary setting, drawing a line around the true community, which, thinking about it, is legally and technically necessary for any large system about to handle global payments.
It is. You have to know who your users are. If we strip away the spiritual language for a moment, what does this sound like?
It sounds like essential housekeeping. Cleaning up the user list before you open the financial doors. If the system, especially the financial part, is going to be secure and compliant, you have to confirm the identity of every single user. No way around that.
Exactly. And this leads directly to what they call the purification goal. The documentation explicitly claims the verification process will purify the system.
Purify. That's another strong word.
Very strong. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, like you said, what does needing a purification now imply about the state of the database before this?
It suggests, well, it strongly suggests that over the years of community building, they've likely accumulated a significant number of accounts that are maybe dormant or duplicates or potentially even fraudulent, accounts that now need to be weeded out.
That seems the logical conclusion. So purification becomes the company's, let's say, rhetorically charged framing for what is actually a mandatory database cleanup. And crucially, as you mentioned earlier, it's also a form of soft know your customer, KYC.
Which is absolutely essential before you can launch a functional digital wallet or any kind of payment system globally.
Yeah.
Without verified identities, the regulatory risks, the financial risks, they'd be massive.
Huge. So in essence, they seem to be skillfully disguising regulatory necessity and database hygiene as spiritual destiny and protection of the faithful.
And what's the stated outcome of this purification?
The sources are extremely clear on this. The outcome is that only genuine accounts will remain, only true believers will rise, and only verified founders will access the next realm of abundance.
Wow. Okay, that's explicit. It's a high-stakes filtering mechanism.
Absolutely. It sifts the database, rewarding current activity and commitment. Those who fail to complete this simple verification step are, by definition within this narrative, rendered non-genuine. And the implication is clear. They lose access to the promised prosperity.
That term true believers really stands out there. It merges the commercial definition of an active, verified user with the spiritual connotation of loyalty and faith.
Precisely. It signals that loyalty and financial reward are now going to be inextricably linked, officially. Verification acts as the proof. Proof of identity, yes, but also proof of active intent and continued belief.
So the stakes are incredibly high for the individual founder. Verification isn't just a suggestion or a nice-to-have.
Not at all. Based on this documentation, it's absolutely fundamental. It's the prerequisite to claiming the future they've been promised for so long. It secures the database for the company, filters out inactive or unwanted accounts, and concentrates the forthcoming rewards solely on the committed, identifiable, purified population.
Which logically leads us to look at what exactly those rewards are. What are the benefits of becoming verified for victory, as they seem to imply?
Okay, so we've established the narrative with the urgency. There's a pivotal, destined moment, and we've seen the protective function, purification, security, ensuring only true believers remain. Now, let's look at the payoff. What are the specific rewards, both tangible and maybe intangible, that are promised once a founder successfully verifies?
Right. We shift now from the sort of high-level philosophy and the security aspect to the practical utility. What do you actually get? The ultimate intangible reward, as presented, is what they call the confirmation of destiny.
Confirmation of destiny. So, again, it's not just data being checked. No. The process is described as destiny being confirmed, not just identity data being logged. The wording is deliberately designed to be deeply personal, deeply affirming for the founder.
It elevates a simple administrative task into something much bigger for the individual.
Exactly. It becomes a personal declaration framed as, It's identification with a vision bigger than any single person. They say the verified founder is officially recognized as a pillar in the greatest AI-driven movement of our time.
That's quite a title. Pillar. It serves as a massive morale boost, doesn't it? Especially for community members who've been around for a long time waiting
A
patiently.
huge morale boost. But this recognition isn't just symbolic. It has immediate, highly practical benefits. And these benefits are the necessary bridge connecting the founder to the actual operational utility of the entire ONPASSIVE system.
How so?
Verification is positioned as the absolutely crucial step required to securely link a founder to their unique financial identity within the ecosystem. Without it, you're basically locked out of the functional parts.
And the source material gets very specific about these tangible access points you gain once you're verified.
Very specific. Once verified, it says you gain direct access to 3 core areas. First, your O-Wallet. Second, O-Connect. And third, every revolutionary platform in the ecosystem.
Okay, we need to break those down. What exactly are O-Wallet and O-Connect?
O-Wallet is described as the proprietary financial interface within ONPASSIVE. Think of it as their internal digital wallet. Now, given the global ambitions and the constant promise of financial freedom and earnings, this wallet is central.
It has to be secure, obviously.
Extremely secure. It presumably needs to manage internal value, maybe credits or tokens, but also connect somehow to external fiat currencies for payouts or transactions. Verification is absolutely mandatory here. Why? Because O-Wallet is the pathway to the money.
The promised payments.
Exactly. And as soon as you're dealing with money movement, especially globally, you run straight into financial regulations. Anti-money laundering laws, KYC, the stuff we talked about earlier. Verification is the necessary first step for compliance.
Okay, that makes sense for O-Wallet. What about O-Connect?
O-Connect sounds like their internal communication and collaboration suite. Think video conferencing, messaging, maybe social networking features, the tools needed for the community to interact, conduct business, coordinate efforts. It's positioned as their answer to existing global tools like Zoom or Teams, but integrated within their ecosystem.
So gaining access to O-Connect means a founder can actually start using the platform for practical communication and maybe business activities.
That's the idea. It allows them to fully operationalize their founder status, turning it from just a title or a position into something actionable within the ONPASSIVE environment. They can connect, collaborate, maybe promote.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. This simple digital verification step.
Yeah.
It becomes the linchpin, the anchor for both a financial future through O-Wallet and a functional operational future through O-Connect.
Precisely. It links the almost spiritual promise of blessings and destiny directly to tangible digital ownership and, crucially, financial access. One click connects belief to banking, essentially.
That's a powerful connection to make.
Extremely. But the benefits, according to the sources, extend even beyond just technical access to these tools. Verification also confirms the founder's ambassadorial status and future promise.
Ambassadorial status, what does that entail?
A verified founder is explicitly confirmed as a true ambassador of ONPASSIVE. Now, that's a significant title. It suggests they are now officially vetted, trusted representatives, authorized, perhaps, to share the vision, promote the platform, maybe even onboard others, depending on the model.
So they're not just users anymore, they're credentialed representatives, ready for the next phase.
Exactly. They stand ready for what the documentation calls the next chapter, the chapter of financial freedom, growth, and shared prosperity. Verification is like getting your official credentials to participate fully in that upcoming financial distribution model.
And this whole relationship built on years of loyalty, belief, waiting, and now culminating in this verification act, it's solidified through something they call the covenant.
Yes, the language gets very formal, very binding there. The Verification Act itself is described as a digital covenant. And they even summarize what this covenant signifies for the founder.
What's the summary?
It says the act declares, "I believed before the blessing came, and now I am verified to receive it."
Wow. That covenant structure is really key, isn't it? It explicitly validates the long wait. It reinforces the idea that the reward wasn't just for signing up, but it was earned through that patience, that loyalty.
Absolutely. The waiting itself becomes part of a qualification process, retroactively framed as necessary proof of faith. It turns what could be seen as a simple, one-time security check into this binding, almost historical agreement. An agreement based fundamentally on shared belief. now sealed digitally.
Okay, so the founder is verified, gains access, becomes an ambassador, enters this covenant. Who is orchestrating all of this? Let's talk about the leadership vision behind it.
Right. So shifting focus a bit now to the architect of this system, as presented in the documentation, Mufareh, and the really expansive philosophy that seems to be driving the design of this verification process and, well, the whole platform.
The documentation definitely positions his leadership as central, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
seems inextricably linked to the platform's big promises, especially around simplicity and global equity.
Very much so. He's clearly positioned as the visionary leader. He's described as, and I quote, more than a CEO. He's a visionary of divine timing.
Okay, visionary of divine timing. That, again, elevates his strategic decisions, like the timing of this verification launch, way beyond just standard corporate planning.
Exactly. It implies that the timing, the design, everything about this crucial step, it's part of a larger, almost predetermined global plan, guided by something more than just market readiness.
And his leadership philosophy, as described, seems to underpin that simplicity we talked about earlier.
Yes, it reflects the idea that, quote, greatness doesn't come from complexity, but from clarity. We saw that clarity emphasized in the effortless nature of the verification. By making this key step so simple, the narrative suggests he is personally opening a door of destiny.
Making sure that the underlying complexity of the AI, the global scale, doesn't become a barrier.
Precisely, ensuring that the technology serves the grand vision of accessibility and reward, rather than complicating it or creating hurdles. The tech has to be an enabler, not a gatekeeper.
And this commitment to clarity and simplicity ties directly into another major theme: equal access for all. This seems critical to their pitch.
Absolutely critical. Mufareh's goal, as laid out in the sources, is to ensure equal access to success for every single founder, regardless of their background, their location, their tech skills, from, as they put it, the most tech-savvy to the simplest dreamer.
That's a very strong inclusivity statement.
It is, and the core philosophy is stated with absolute certainty. In ONPASSIVE, no one is left behind.
Now, that's a really bold claim,
Yeah.
especially when you're talking about launching a complex tech and potentially financial platform on a truly global scale. How do they illustrate this?
Well, it demands that the system, including this verification, works flawlessly for an incredibly diverse population, geographically diverse, digitally diverse. The sources try to bring this global commitment to life using specific, quite evocative example.
I remember seeing those. They paint a vivid picture of this diversity, don't they?
Yeah.
Mentioning specific people in specific places.
Exactly. They mention every grandmother with a smartphone in Ghana, every student in Kenya, every entrepreneur in India, and every teacher in Canada.
The deliberate inclusion of those specific demographics feels very strategic.
Highly strategic. It serves to emphasize the genuine logistical challenge that they are claiming to have successfully overcome. Think about it. Building a single system, a single verification process that functions perfectly for a tech-savvy entrepreneur in, say, Toronto,
Right, with fast internet, latest phone.
while simultaneously working just as smoothly without friction for a grandmother in rural Ghana, where connectivity might be slower, data costs higher, and technical literacy potentially very different. That's a massive undertaking.
So the verification process itself becomes more than just administration or security. It becomes a kind of proof of concept.
Exactly. A proof of concept for their claim of global equity and technological accessibility. If this verification actually works seamlessly in diverse markets like India, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, as well as in the US, UK, Canada, then it validates that core claim. No one left behind.
It transforms the verification step into a logistical victory lap almost. Proof that their tech can handle the promised global scale and diversity.
Absolutely. The success of this simple step is positioned as tangible evidence of their commitment to equality and true global reach. It's framed not just as good marketing, but as a reflection of overcoming significant technological hurdles to handle such varied conditions worldwide.
And this focus on shared global action, everyone doing the same simple step, that leads into another powerful idea in the text, treating verification as a global celebration.
Yeah, the documentation explicitly encourages founders not to see this as just a task or a chore they have to complete. Instead, they should view it as a moment of celebration, a moment to declare global unity and shared belief in the ONPASSIVE vision.
How do they encourage that viewpoint?
They ask the community to mentally visualize the impact, to imagine Millions of founders completing verification, creating lights turning on across the global map. It's a very visual, inspiring image.
And they list specific countries again.
Yes, they name Kenya, India, the Philippines, the US, Nigeria, the UK, South Africa. It connects the individual founder's action, wherever they are, to this vast, simultaneous, worldwide collective movement, everyone lighting up their part of the map.
That collective act of verification, it becomes a powerful symbol of global solidarity under this single shared vision.
It does. And according to the sources, this global action is the living embodiment of the ONPASSIVE philosophy itself. Unity through technology, diversity through connection, and equality through access. It's incredibly effective rhetorically for building communal morale, reinforcing shared identity, and creating a sense of urgency to participate.
So the narrative successfully uses that geographic diversity to bolster its ideological claims. If this verification process does succeed smoothly across all these highly different markets,
Then it lends enormous weight to the core idea that this platform truly is universal, truly is simple enough for anyone, anywhere to use and theoretically benefit from. It validates the whole equality through access promise.
okay, so the vision is global, equitable, and led by a visionary. What's the predicted outcome? What happens after millions are verified? All right, so we've tracked the whole narrative arc here. We've seen the framing destiny, divine timing. We've looked at the function, security, purification. We've examined the benefits, access, ambassadorship, the covenant, and we've touched on the global vision of equality. Now we need to address the final piece, the claims about the anticipated outcome. What happens after millions of founders are verified? What's the impact supposed to be, even beyond the ecosystem itself?
Yeah, this is where the source material really leans into the world-changing potential. It speaks of a profound global shift, something they call a wave of transformation.
A wave of transformation. What does that mean specifically?
It predicts that the world will soon witness a wave like never before. A wave driven by these millions of newly verified founders finally accessing the ONPASSIVE tools, which, the text claims, will redefine what's possible.
Redefine what's possible. How?
Well,
Does it specify the actions these verified founders will take?
it does, and it's very specific. They won't just be enriching themselves individually. The claim is that they will earn, learn, grow, and transform communities. And even more broadly, they will lift entire generations.
Wow, okay, so that positions the success of the individual founder not merely as personal wealth accumulation.
No, not primarily. It's positioned as a force for wider societal good, for community development, generational change. Particularly, you'd assume, in those emerging markets they highlighted earlier, Ghana, Kenya, India.
So the internal financial engine of ONPASSIVE is explicitly linked to an external, almost humanitarian, social mandate.
That's the ultimate promise being made, yes. That the financial freedom achieved within the system translates directly into tangible positive transformation outside the system. The platform becomes a tool for global upliftment.
That's a huge claim,
Mhm.
but the documentation must also acknowledge the practicalities, the scale of launching something like this.
It does, actually. It smartly balances this incredibly expansive vision with a dose of realism, or at least a plea for patience from the users. It touches on building legacy.
How does it frame that?
It emphasizes the need for patience and grace during the rollout phase. It explicitly notes that every large system takes time to synchronize.
Ah, okay, so that's necessary expectation management.
Definitely. They're acknowledging subtly that launching a system involving potentially millions of users, complex financial tools across multiple continents, it's not going to be perfectly smooth instantly. There might be glitches, delays.
So by framing it as part of building legacy,
By framing it as foundational work for building legacy, one verified soul at a time, they encourage founders to maintain long-term commitment. It helps manage potential user frustration if there are synchronization delays or initial hiccups. It keeps the focus on the bigger long-term picture, not immediate perfection.
makes sense. But despite that nod to practicality, the narrative consistently swings back to the grand sweep of history, doesn't it? That seems to be where the documentation finds its highest, most aspirational notes.
Absolutely. It provides a really bold prediction of the historical narrative that they believe will eventually define this entire movement for future generations.
And what is that predicted historical narrative?
The claim is, well, it's truly audacious. They predict that history will look back on this period, on these founders, and say, this was the generation that changed the world.
Harold.
Not